Hey guys, it's Chris from the Ultimate Recycler. Here's some e-waste that came into my shop the other day, and I'm going to start filming any of these that are interesting because we should get some restoration projects out of them, and others probably won't be worth it and we'll probably just scrap them out. But either way, it'll be interesting, I'm sure, to some of you. This one, I picked this one out because it's a Sansui. Now they're a Japanese brand. This is a vintage unit. And they were a pretty good brand in their day, I think. So this one certainly wasn't just going to be thrown in the pile to be scrapped out without a bit of a check. So I'll run you through, I haven't looked at it at all, and I thought probably a good idea to do this on camera because then you'll get a bit of an idea for the process that I take, things to consider, and we'll kind of work these things out together. That way it's not rehearsed and you know that I'm just basically seeing it pretty much for the first time as you guys are. Now this is an amplifier. It's got all the inputs and outputs on the back. It's a tuner as well. There's two banks of speakers. It's a model R-7 stereo receiver, 230 watts. It's double insulated. That's what that symbol there means, but you can tell because there's no earth wire. So cosmetically it looks okay. Someone's actually written on the top in Texter where their favourite stations were. So the front of it looks okay, there's no issues. That just looks like paint splatter or bird droppings or something. There's no issues there. There's no cracked dial ends or anything else. The knobs will all clean up fine, but I'm not going to do that first. We want to make sure it's worthwhile. So that's my first step, is just to give it a bit of a physical check. Next step will be just to check eBay quickly and just see if this particular model is sought after. Sometimes there might be a heap of them on there and they're just not selling, and then I know that that model isn't perhaps one that's worth spending much time on. So we'll check eBay next. Okay, we'll check eBay and see if we can find this particular model. So it was a Sansui and an R-7. I'm not going to put any other keywords in because it doesn't actually say amplifier on it, even though it is. And people write all sorts of different things in the titles. So one result, I've actually found the instruction manual, service manual for it in Germany. Oh, there's 22 found in the 22 units found internationally. So let's go down here and click worldwide. So there's a lot of them on there. That person's looking for 114 Australian. It's got 18 watches, so that's good. It tells me that people do have a bit of an interest in this model. Now there's lots of parts on here. So that's another option sometimes with this sort of gear, is that we could actually sell parts. I don't like to wreck them unless they're damaged or something, or unless they're not worth repairing. So let's go to completed items, because judging on what someone's asking for something is really a terribly inaccurate way of valuing, because there's no telling what knowledge the people have. So here we go. I actually had clicked on this one other time. Buy it now, it's sold for $80. So that's promising. That was in Australia. So there's another one here. Let's go. Oh, we are still worldwide. So that's the only one actually on. These are different models. That's an A7. All right, so that's the only one we can really go on. Buy it now really isn't indicative of what it's worth, because it just means that one person was prepared to spend $80 on it plus postage. If it is a particularly rare model, look, it may have sold in the first 5 minutes, and had it been an auction, it might have gone a lot higher. But that tells me that at least one person was prepared to spend at least $80 on it. So that's promising. Given that, we won't look any further. We know it's worth trying to get going. And I mean, I probably would have got it going anyway if I can, because it would sell through the shop. But this gives me a bit of hope that it may have potential of doing very well on eBay. So let's get back to the unit and we'll plug it in and give it a test. So I've got this Sansui receiver amplifier on my test bench at home now. I'm setting up a little workshop at home where all my test equipment will be, so that's where we'll be doing more of these videos as time goes on. So I've got an isolation transformer to run this through. So we'll turn that on and we'll power it up and see what goes on. I've just got a little cheap speaker hooked up at the moment. Alright, so something's weird's going on. We've got some flickering. I'll turn this other light off for the moment and we'll see better. Alright, so not sure if you can see that. We've got flickering of the dash lights. There's some static coming through the speaker. We'll turn that off for the moment. There's a volume here that's flickering, and I think this is trying to work, but we haven't got a proper voltage supply. Something's happening. It's shorting out or flickering or something. So, and we'll turn that speaker back on. I don't think we had any noise as far as stations go. Yeah, no, our flickering stopped now too. So something's going on. We better have a look at perhaps the, well, the fuse is obviously okay. And the power switch works, or does it? Not sure. We better take the cover off and have a look. There's clearly something wrong with it. Alright, I've just got the top cover off. We'll power it up again. I've still got our flickering going on. And I can hear some noise. I'm not sure if you can hear that. There's a little sort of a buzzing, crackling noise coming from there. It might be the main switch. There might be something arcing in there. But clearly it's trying to go, but it's obviously not getting full current through. So I might have to have a closer look at that switch. I've taken a few covers off the side panel, and I had to take the front panel off to allow access to the screws. And then there was only 2 screws that held the main switch. There's a little board here with a fuse on it. Now I've put a test lead across the terminals of the mains input and turned it on, and now we've got rid of the flickering. We have full power on the front panel, and the volume control works well. It runs on a little motor. It's quite a natty idea, that one. Now we have another issue though, and I'll turn that right up. That's flat out, and that's the loudest noise we can get out of it. Now I've tried both channels, and both channels are the same. So I don't know which channel it's on now, right or left. But we have very low noise output. I don't know why. I'm learning as we go here, so I might make this job a 2-part video to give anyone who has any idea, perhaps can have some input. What I do know is that this is a 1982 model, which makes it pretty much almost 40 years old, and the electrolytic capacitors will certainly need replacing. Whether one of them's kaput or the values are so far out that it's mucking up the amplifier. My logic at this stage, and please feel free to correct me, my logic tells me that the radio section of this unit, the receiver section, is going to be fine. The controls for all the indicators and everything at the front appear to be working normally. And because all the lights and everything seem to be the right brightness, and the little motor works fine for the volume, you can see a little motor in there, I would suggest that the transformer and the power supply area would be okay. So this part, we have a rectifier set up by the look of the diodes, a couple of big filter capacitors. So I'm thinking it must be in the amplifier section, and because it's on both channels, it must be something common to both channels. So look, I'm only surmising, I'm only hypothesizing. I don't have an electronics background in a big way. I just know some basics. I'll probably try and chase up a service manual, and we might pull that main board out and try and do some testing, and we'll make that part 2, and hopefully if I persist long enough we should be able to get it fixed. If you have any input, great, I'd love to hear it. My channel isn't all about high technical repairs, so I'm guessing most of you probably won't have much of an idea. I'll try and get a service manual, as I said, and I'll pull the main amplifier board out and maybe I can test a few components. I'll have a good look at all the capacitors because they usually give up the ghost well before, well, 40 years is a long life for an electrolytic capacitor. They dry out from the heat and apparently they just give up. So that'll be my first step. I'll pull the board out, I'll have a bit of a better look, but we'll call that part 2. So this will conclude part 1. We really didn't get anywhere other than doing some tests, but thanks for watching, and I'll continue this adventure in part 2. I'm not sure when I'll get to it. I do want to make myself a dim bulb tester to put in line with the isolation transformer, and that will just clearly in this case it's not required, but if I ever power something up that's got a direct short, it will show it up straight away and be much safer than blowing fuses and causing smoke. Alright, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.